death of bees explained. Parasites poisoning humans. Check what this is about and see if the bees are dying out and stuff. Bees are just fucking annoying. Well, especially wasps and stuff. Like when you're going out and stuff and there's a bee or wasp or whatever, you might get stuck. Oh, they're so annoying, dude. But right, let's check this video out and see what's going on here.
Society is extremely complex and fragile, built upon various pillars. One of them is the honeybee. 1 out of 3 meals eaten by humans is made possible by honeybees. They are so important that if all the honeybees were to die out, thousands of plants would follow, which could lead to millions of people starving in the following.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though I hate bees, right? We need bees. I can remember talking about this ages ago. Like, if bees dies out, like, we're fucked, aren't we? Because a lot of plants are gonna die out, and yeah, it's actually crazy.
Years. On top of that, honeybees have a huge economic impact. The dollar value of plants pollinated by them each year is around 265 billion. Food we take for granted would just stop existing without them, or there would be a massive
No way! The TARDIS is connected to the bees?
decrease in productivity. Food including apples, onions, pumpkins, and also plants used for feeding livestock, and thus extremely important for our milk and meat.
Oh,
Einstein is often quoted as having said, if honeybees die out, humans will follow a few years later.
Wow.
Actually, he probably didn't say that, but there might be some truth in the statement. It's unsettling, but honeybees have started to disappear. Millions of hives have died in the last few years.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you know, early in, like I said when I was a kid, that, you know, bees and wasps would annoy me. I rarely see bees and wasps anymore. Like, I as a kid, I used to, but then again, I go out less now. I'm always gaming, so that's probably why. But I don't see them much. I don't see them near to as much as I did when I was a kid.
Beekeepers all over the world have seen an annual loss of 30 to 90% of their colonies. In the US alone, bees are steadily declining, from 5 million hives in 1988 to 2.5 million today. Since 2006, a phenomenon called colony collapse disorder has affected honeybees in many countries, and we're not entirely sure what's causing it. All we know is that it's pretty serious.
What the fuck?
Over the last few decades, bees have seen an invasion of very dangerous foes. Parasites straight out of a horror movie, like a carapace woody. Microscopic mites that infect the trachea, that's the breathing tubes of bees. Here, they lay their eggs and feed from the fluids of their victims, weakening them considerably and spending their whole life inside the bees. Or Varroa destructor, a fitting name because
they're like, the bees are literally going through a fucking pandemic right now. They're actually getting hit hard with a fucking virus.
They only reproduce in honeybee hives and are one of the bee's greatest enemies. The female mite enters a honeybee brood cell and lays eggs on the bee larva before it's about to pupate and before the hive bees cover the cell with a wax capping. The eggs hatch and the young mites and their mother feed on the developing bee in the safety of the capped cell. The bee is not normally killed at this stage, just weakened, so it still has enough strength to chew its way through the wax capping and release itself from the cell. As it does, it releases the mother mite and her new offspring from the cell, and these are free to spread across the hive, starting the process over again in a cycle of about 10 days. Their numbers grow exponentially, and after a few months, this can lead to the collapse of the entire beehive. Once outside of the cell, adult mites also suck the bodily fluids of bees and weaken them considerably. To make things worse, they also transmit viruses that harm the bees even more and can lead to birth defects like useless wings. But there are other threats too, such as viruses and fungi. Under normal circumstances, these phenomena should be manageable and are not enough to...
Man, when I was a kid, I hated bees, right? Like, every time you see a bit like a wasp, like, it would just sting you and stuff. But man, I feel bad now. What the fuck?
Explain the horrendous amount of dying going on in bees. Over recent years,
Save
new
the
insecticides
bees!
have been introduced that are deadly.
We need like a bee hospital.
Neonicotinoids, a chemical family similar to nicotine, was approved in the early 1990s as an alternative to chemicals like DDT. They attack insects by harming their nervous systems. Today, they are the most widely used insecticides in the world. Globally, they saw sales of 1.5 billion euros in 2008, representing 24% of the global market for insecticides. In 2013,
Wow.
neonicotinoids were used in the US on about 95% of corn and canola crops, and also on the vast majority of fruit and vegetables like apples, cherries, peaches, oranges, berries, leafy greens, tomatoes, potatoes, cereal grains, rice, nuts, grapes, and many more. Bees come into contact with the toxin while collecting pollen or via contaminated water, often bringing material into the hive where it can accumulate and slowly kill the whole colony.
Holy shit. But like, if the death of bees is really serious, they've got to stop selling that stuff then. Like, do bees actually damage those crops? That like, it's probably worth it, you know what I mean? Like, outweigh the pros and the cons of the bees damaging those crops and the bees dying out.
Toxins harm bees in a variety of horrible ways. In high enough doses, it quickly leads to convulsions, paralysis, and death. But even in small doses, it can be fatal. It may lead to bees forgetting how to navigate the world. So bees fly into the wild, get lost, and die alone, separated from their hives. If this happens often enough, a hive can lose its ability to sustain itself. We know that neonicotinoids are harmful to bees and that we urgently need an alternative to it. But there are billions of dollars to be made in delaying this. Studies sponsored by the chemical industry magically appear to prove a much lower toxicity to bees compared to those produced by independent scientists. There are even more factors contributing.
Oh wait, so the spray isn't even used to fucking harm the bees?
To the demise of bees,
it's harmful
like
to
too much
bees.
genetic uniformity, crop monocultures, poor nutrition due to overcrowding, stress because of human activities, and other pesticides. Each of those factors on its own is a major problem for bees, but together they probably account for colony collapse disorder. With parasites upping their game in recent decades, the honeybees are now fighting for survival. It would be a catastrophe if they lost this fight. This is a conundrum we have to solve if we want to continue living with a relative abundance and diversity of food. Humanity is deeply interconnected with Earth and the other life forms on it. Even if we pretend that we're not, we have to take better care of our surroundings. If not to preserve the beauty of nature, then at least to ensure our own survival.
Right, yeah, just make it selfish.
By the Australian
Make it selfish and then we'll actually do something about it. That's the world that we live in today. Really interesting video. Actually enjoyed that one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know your thoughts as well. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.